Hello. Today you're going to need your math book, your math notebook, and something to glue in your worksheet that looks like this. But first, we're going to correct our homework from last night. So go ahead and get your math book open to page 433 and 434. And we're going to start correcting our problems. All right. So we had number 1. You should have found the equivalent fraction 1/2. 2 should have been 1/6. 3 should have been 4/2 because we started with an improper fraction, so it makes sense that we still have an improper fraction. Then 6, you should have divided by 4/4 to find 2/3. You should have divided by 10/10 to find 7/10. You should have divided by 2/2 to get 9/5. 9/5. Then we had number 10. You should have found 2/5 as your equivalent fraction. And for 11, you should have found 5/6. And those ones are really the only ones you can get by using division. Then for 18, you should have found 2/6 and 1/3. Those ones are the only ones we can use because that's the only thing we can only divide 4 and 12 by 4 and by 2, which gets us these two answers. Then 19, you might have found 15 fifths, 3 wholes, 3 firsts, or 6 halves. For 22, you might have found 1/2, 2/4, or 3/6. And that were all the options you could have had. Then looking over here, number 27, you needed to multiply the minutes by 60 seconds because 60 for 1, and we know we have 55 of them. So 55 times 60 gets us 3,300, and then don't forget that seconds label. All right, then down here, you should have known that they were equivalent because 1/4 could be thinking of 1 of 4 seasons or 3 of the 12 months. And they are equivalent to each other. 1/4 equals 3/12. So we know that both of them are right. All right. All right, so that was our homework. Now today, we're going to go over how to compare fractions, and we're going to do a few practice problems on our notebook page. We tried some in class, and it just got too chaotic, so we're going to come back to it on Monday, okay? So today, we're just going to do our notebook page to practice, okay? So go ahead and find this sheet. My friends who are in class, it would be like a yellow golden color, okay? And get this glued into your math notebook so you can use it as a reference. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay. So today we're going to talk about comparing fractions. And we talked about in class how we know how we can compare numbers. Like we did 64 and 34. We said, well, we know 64 is bigger. So we said we could use that sign. 64 is greater than 34. And now we're going to use that idea, but we're going to think about it with fractions. We're going to look at our numerators and denominators and try to make sense of how we can do this. So, one strategy we can do is to use our fraction models. We can think of our bar as being split, that was a bad spot. It's being split into fourths. And I need just one of those fourths covered. All right, so I have 1/4 colored. Now I want to split this one into thirds, and I want 2 of them colored. Using the picture, or like our chart that we put into our math notebook, we can compare using the fractions. So I know that 1/4 is less than 2/3 because the 2/3 goes farther, making it bigger. It covers more of that same area. I love this next one the best. we can compare it to a benchmark fraction, like thinking about 1/2, because I can find half of a number pretty quickly. So I can think of 1/2 or 1/4. I'm trying to think 1/2 of 4 isn't 1. 1/2 of 4 would be 2. So I think of 1/4 to 2/4. 2/4 would be here, right? That'd be half. I know 1/4 is less, so that's why it gets put down here. It's less than 1/2. Excuse me. Sorry. Okay. So we know that 1/4 is smaller than 1/2 of fourths, which would be 2/4. So then if we think about thirds, half of a third would be something between 1 and 2, right? So it'd be like 1.5. Well, we know that 2 is bigger than 1/2, than 1.5. So that's why 2 is over here. So that way we can also picture it as 1/4 is greater than 2/3. Another way is to use our multiplication to find common denominators, thinking of equivalent fractions that are easier to compare. So we can multiply both of these to get a denominator of 12. I can multiply by 3/3 to get 3/12. And I can multiply this one by 4/4 to get 8/12. Well, now I know that these have the same denominator, so I know the pieces are all the same. So now I can see, because in the other ones I had 1/4, I know that those pieces are smaller than the thirds, right? We know that fourths are smaller. So now I have 8/12, 3/12. Well, 8/12 is bigger because 8 is bigger than 3. So I know that 2/3 is greater than 1/4. I have to make sure that these ones match up when I'm done. So you can pick a strategy. You can draw out fraction pieces. You can use your chart. You can picture to 1/2, 0 to 1 with 1/2. Or you can use multiplication to make equivalent fractions. Then go ahead, and I'm going to have you try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when you're done, unpause the video, and then I will go through these. Sound good? All right. So 2/5 to 5/8. Well, I know 2/5 is pretty close to 0. And I know 5/8, half would be 4/8, and 5/8 is just a little bit bigger. So I know that 5/8 is bigger than 2/5. 2/5 is less than 5/8. 2/3. Well, I'm going to use multiplication because I know 3 and 6 are really similar. So I'm going to multiply this by 2/2 to get 4/6. I know that 4/6 is equal to 4/6. So 2/3 must be equivalent or equal to 4/6. Ooh, I'm at that 5/8 again. I remember that was just over half. And I remember 3/4 is beyond, because half would be 2/4. So I'm picturing that in my head. And 3/4 would be quite a bit farther. Whereas that 5/8 would be really close to that half. So I know that 5/8 is, no, sorry, backwards. That was backwards. 5/8 is less than 3/4. This one. I know 3/10 is pretty close to 0 because half would be 5/10. So somewhere in between half and 0. But 2/3 is close to the end. So I know that 3/10 is less than 2/3. 3/5 and 4/8. So I know that 3/5. 3/5 I might draw. Ooh, that's a really bad one. I might draw 2 equal rectangles, remember? Now I split this one into 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to color in 3 of them. Now 4/8. Well, I know that that is half. So I'm going to color in half of my rectangle. I know that, I messed up on my drawing a little bit. All right. Sorry, friends. That's why I don't like the drawing one as much. All right, so I want this. And I'm going to do half would be here. That's fourths. Split it into eighths. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, it's just a little bit under. So 3/5 is actually greater. Well, this time I know half and 4/8. I remember that 4/8 is half. 4 is half of 8. So these are equal. All right. So that's all we did for math today. It was a quick, short, dip our toes into the water to get get our minds wrapping around comparing fractions. And we will do more next week on this. Take care.